Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a tactic that seems underused, or maybe appropriately used. It's one that we all talked about, maybe did once or twice, and I really don't know. We haven't seen it do anything, I think. And it's something that, upon thinking about how Zodgrod and Gretchen were terrifying everybody, and then our quote unquote Gretchen equivalent of Neurogants have the same wound count to do that. We do have a unit where we thought about doing pretty much the exact same thing to various degrees and various ways. And it all starts with remembering to attach a Winged Tyranid Prime to gargoyles. You don't usually do this because you already have gargoyles for 85 points, whatever you needed the bodies for. Usually, making them gain sustained hits, uh, doesn't do much, right? You're not looking for any output on here. But instead, the reason that we talk about putting the Winged Tyranid Prime with the gargoyles is so that you can put Synapse in the unit, and the Winged Tyranid Prime is a character, so that means you can do character things, i.e. putting enhancements on them. Now, oddly enough to me, I thought this would even see play in Final Day for GSE, and it seems like the GSE has like no interest in figuring out that detachment still. So, there's that because it's a little bit more interesting when a Vanguard Invader character dies. There's a strat, something like that. I can't remember. And then there's Synapse and things like that. Either way, Final Day has some interesting play there, but what about for us? Why would you consider doing this for Tyranids? Well, there's a couple of things. First off, in Warrior Bioform Onslaught, the thing that everybody picked up quickly was that, wait, Winged Tyranid Prime units get a 5-up invulnerable. So if I attach the Winged Tyranid Prime to 20 gargoyles, that is 20 gargoyles that are now T3, 1 wound, 5-up invulnerable. So, that's pretty annoying, and then if you put Sensory Assimilation, that unit is -1 to be hit. So, that was one thing that quickly everybody picked up on, and maybe it's because of people's similar attitude to me. I'll be honest, right? I actually still don't like the detachment. But a lot of people were like, "Are you serious? You wasted our detachment slot on warriors." That's mine. And then the people that were like, "Woo, warriors, let's go!" Uh, they did the warrior part, so it seemed like there wasn't too much room for people that would be willing to open-minded enough to explore Warrior Bioform Onslaught. Seemed like we didn't get there on making that unit. Now, mind you, that is an expensive unit, right? We're looking at 170 points here, then another 65, and then another 20. So what? 190 and then 255 points. Yeah, it's 255 points for that block, which that's not something that Zodgrod and the Gretchen necessarily are looking to spend. So that's one aspect of, well, fuck, is it worth it? But I think there's some amount of it, and that's kind of where I lied on it for Warrior Bioform Onslaught, where if you're going for the full 20 man, did you need to do 255 points of this? I don't necessarily think so. Bringing it down to just doing 10, yeah, maybe. But then again, if I'm trying to keep it cheap, is going for the extra enhancement cheap as well? That's kind of where my opinion of this tactic always was. And I think that might be where a lot of the sentiment ended as far as seeing it in tournament play. Because 255 points is steep. And maybe my math is off, but did I do that right? Uh, 250 something points, right? Is steep. 200. I think I did my math. Well, quick math. Midday crash. I'm sorry. Uh, that's steep for a Wing Tyranid Prime, and some gargoyles. Then you come over to Synaptic Nexus, where I was like, hey, if y'all wanted to do that, you could have done that already. Like, we could have done this shit already. In Synaptic Nexus, for a turn, mind you, but you could keep it going for a command point with Imperative Dominance. You give 5 up Invulnerable save for things within Synapse range, and even better, this means that you could save on the points if you can find a way for there to be Synapse on your gargoyles in any other fashion. That means you don't need to attach the Wing Tyranid Prime if you could find a way for your Winged Hive Tyrant, your unit of Winged Tyranid Prime and melee warriors that you tried out in here, uh, your Maliceptor that's trying to push up the board, any number of things, a Neuraloid that you started your gargoyles on the board and they just assaulted and then scoot, right? Any number of things. You just got to find Synapse for that to be triggered. They don't necessarily have to be attached, so at least you can possibly find ways of saving yourself 65 points with Synaptic Nexus. So it's a strat that, because Synaptic Nexus, the main things we've seen out of it is either Norn spam or Tyrant Guard spam. Uh, it left a lot to be desired in trying things that people were very excited for possibly doing here. But it doesn't stop there with the things you can do with these. It should be noted that in Vanguard Onslaught, now they already are Vanguard invaders. So it's not to say that you need the Wing Tyranid Prime here to achieve any of this, but we're going to talk about something in a couple of tabs further. But you can give them access to precision, and the only one that's hitting worth shit in this unit is the Wing Tyranid Prime. So you could do that, but also with Seated Broods, turn 1, Deep Strike, shoot, and scoot to get this brick into people's faces. Now, Chameleonic doesn't work the way I would like it to, because only the bearer gets stealth, everybody else gets the benefit of cover, but whoop-de-doo, it's 10th edition. You could also give Stalker, so that is to say that you could now shoot, well, Deep Strike, turn 1, shoot, scoot. Now, if you scoot, you can't charge, so keep that in mind. But, that is to say that if your opponent did not get through 20 models, you have Stalker, 1 CP precision, and that's pretty funny. That's a thing that you can do, or also you can start them on the board. Gargoyles have Assault, and then they get their shoot. So you can 12 inches, Assault, possibly another 6, and then scoop. You can do that. It's Vanguard Onslaught for you. We're also looking at Assimilation Swarm as to where they are Endless Multitude. And one thing I've talked about several times is Regenerating Monstrosity. Being put on a Wing Tyranid Prime means that you can bring up to 6 gargoyles back per turn. Now, I also recommend 2 Rippers for that one. So you're looking at 50 points. The 20 for Regenerating Monstrosity, 65 for the Wing Tyranid Prime, and 170 for Gargoyles. And if I said that the first one was very expensive, why do I say that this is is worth more to me? Now, you could call it copium. That's up to you to decide. But the thing is, these have more play. If I'm doing Regenerating Monstrosity to bring back 6 gargoyles per turn, that means that I'm getting my models back, and it's not just one, Hail Mary, hopefully you don't pick up this brick once at one time. You have to get through me generating 6 gargoyles. And on top of that, if you go, well, if I kill it at the source with Ripper Swarms, because they deep strike, right? If I do it there, well, something I've talked about several times over, Brood Guard Impulse. 1 command point, if they get rid of a Harvester, that unit is now +1 to wound. So, +1 to wound for you trying to get through 20 bodies, 21, right? And I guess you could say 22 because that's the Ripper too. 22 wound, well, 22 bodies because Wing Tyranid Prime has like 6 wounds, right? Yeah, 22 wounds, well, 22 bodies, shit, uh, at the cost of 1 CP and now 1 wound against you. Yeah, I like those odds. And if you pick up the other Ripper, well, if you do it in a certain order on top of that, so keep this in mind. If they pick up 1 Harvester, okay, uh, you could save that if you know that they're going to kill both of your Rippers for this tactic, right? One of them, you do reclaim biomass. Any phase when a Tyranid unit from your army is destroyed before the last model and it is removed from play, 1 harvester from your army that is within 6 inches of that destroyed unit. Regenerate 1 friendly Tyranid unit within 6 inches of your harvester unit. So, they are sick and tired of getting through your gargoyles and your winged Tyranid Prime. You have regenerated monstrosity, that's why they are sick of this. They go, alright, fuck it, I'm killing the Rippers. They kill Ripper number 1. You go reclaim biomass to add 3 more fucking gargoyles back to your brick. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. They go, fine, fuck it, you did that one time. I'm going for the other Ripper. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Broodguard Impulse. So, now, that's 2 command points, 50 in Rippers, and again, we already did the math for the rest, right? That's fine. But that's a lot of investment from my opponent that I am willing to do this on because that's 20 bodies that I got shoot and scoot. 22 bodies. Well, I guess 21 bodies shoot and scoot, 23 overall. Whatever, you get the point. 20 plus bodies, shoot and scoot, clog up the field for effectively 3-inch deep strike, and good luck, I'm probably taking an objective or just blocking your path. And now I'm +1 to wound against you if, I decide I didn't really need to do the reclaim biomass. So there's that one. And that's just the Assimilation Swarm shenanigans. For regenerating monstrosity, here's the other thing about this. With instinctive defense, while the bearer is within 6 inches of 1 or more friendly harvester units, you can target the bearer's unit with the heroic intervention stratagem for 0 command points. In addition, while the bearer is within 6 inches of 1 or more friendly harvester units, models in the bearer's unit have fights first. Alright, this is one that's kind of been opened to my eyes recently, just, doing shit. You can put this on a Winged Tyranid Prime that drop down, shoot, and scoot. And we all know that you can't charge that turn that you do that, right? But that means you have the flexibility to be in places probably around a harvester and then putting a bunch of bodies to tie up whatever unit needed to be tied up. Anger on charge is something around a harvester that you dropped in for this, you rapid ingress, whatever the hell. Well, probably not rapid ingress, but you did this around something. This gives you a lot of movement shenanigans just to be an ass, really. That's kind of what we're going for here. Fights first is whatever. Sure, if you can get some wounds through, like they will go to strength 4 because they'll be attached to Synapse, right? Uh, Hell, maybe it's after you Broodguard Impulse something, so they're +1 to wound too. Don't rely on that. Don't try that one too much. I mean, hell, maybe there's always a time to try something, so, but hey. What we're really looking at is the strength 7, because of Synapse, AP1 damage 2, 6 attacks out of the Winged Tyranid Prime, if anything, that you could do for some fights first shenanigans with Assimilation Swarm. And again, we're talking about a character, so biophagic flow, it's not as needed anymore because you're not tied to objectives to do the regenerating, but you can also slab biophagic flow on a Winged Tyranid Prime, shoot and scoot into a position to where now you can make it so that your harvesters within a foot of the bearer can regenerate 9 inches out instead of 6. So the Assimilation Swarm has a couple of plays for this brick that, mind you, was underexplored. And at a competitive level, I cannot guarantee, I will not guarantee, any of this makes a lot of a difference. I will give my disclaimer once more that I aim to for fun with your friends type shit. And by fun with your friends, I mean fun for you. Your friend might slap the shit out of you, type of things on this here channel. Maybe RTT local game store level at that, but like that's not my aim here. So this is just to say you could do all these things, and honestly, nothing is stopping you from making a list with 3 winged Tyranid primes and 60 gargoyles to do this with 3 enhancements. Uh, Nobody says you can't do that one. So if that's what your heart desires, that's what your heart desires. And then going over to Invasion Fleet, it's Invasion Fleet, sustained, possibly sustained lethal, if that's what your heart needs that time, right? But also kind of going on a weaker fraction of Assimilation Swarm, but you have Endless Swarm. Bring D3 plus 3 destroyed models for the cost of a command point, so you can tie that up. And I promise there's a reason still further we're still talking about all of this in relation to those. Unending Swarm, also you can put enhancements on here. They are endless multitude. You can get surge moves. You can benefit from all of this shit here. I understand you don't want to. I got it. I won't say more about Unending Swarm right now. But just saying it still exists if anybody's brave enough. Now, all of that, some of those you go, well, I don't really need to attach the Winged Tyranid Prime for any of that. I could just do it and not care about an enhancement or, bring more gargoyles. All of that's true. But the other thing that's important about making it a Synapse unit, that this is the thing that I think is truly underutilized by us um, as Tyranid players. Not so much Vanguard Onslaught players, probably, because, uh, well, Shadow in the Warp. If your faction is Tyranids, once per battle in either player's command phase, if one or more units from your army with this ability are on the battlefield, you can unleash the Shadow in the Warp. When you do, each enemy unit on the battlefield must take a Battle Shock test. Each time an enemy unit takes such a Battle Shock test, if it is within 6 inches of one or more Synapse units from your army, subtract 1 from that test. Now, this confuses new players often. This does not mean every Battle Shock test your opponent takes throughout the game is at -1 if they are around Synapse. That is not what that means. It means specifically when you trigger the Battle Shock test out of Shadow in the Warp, if they are around Synapse units, -1 to the test. Why do I stress units the way I just did? So, it's not models. If it was models, this would be kind of up in smoke. Who gives a fuck? But stretching 20 or hell, even 10 gargoyles across a while means that, yeah, you could just bring a Neurotyrant for -1 to the test, or you can also bring a Neurotyrant and stretch out 20 models and a Synapse unit uh, for -2 to the test and make Shadow in the Warp a little bit more consistent. So, going back to some of those that you say, well, I didn't really need a character for, that's kind of what we're here for, discussion wise, as far as why you might do it. So, we haven't necessarily relied on Shadow in the Warp. I'm pretty sure most Tyranid players will tell you never to do that shit. And I'm not going to tell you to do that shit today. But what I will say is that this is a tactic that we've all discussed, and I think none of us have had the chitin to stick to doing more often than not. I'll be honest, me included, even talking about this, I just uh took it out of the list that I would like to try an Assimilation Swarm when I get a chance to. Now, and that honestly, that's kind of where I was even considering the instinctive defense thing, because that's, I think, not too bad. The reason I took it out is because of I wanted something else, and so maybe this might end up back in the list. But for the purposes of, well, we see that a lot of bodies can be annoying. right? I think that's a no bullshit. Like we are familiar with that as Tyranid players. We will shove endless multitude down our opponent's throats in the right meta, of course, right? And as somebody that's a fan of Hormagaunts more than the other ones, I think it is at least something to be said as to why you might ever consider doing this. If this is what makes our games easier for us, because one turn of your opponent's effective army, right? 6 inches from 21 models spread the fuck out, that, got to shoot and scoot. So deep strike, shoot, 3 inches away from enemies now. 21 models stretched across, -1 to the test. Yeah, there's a good chance that your opponent will have a turn, a very more consistent. Let me reel it in. A more consistent chance that your opponent has a bad scoring turn, and that can be all the difference. I gotta admit, you all surprised me. More people forget about because I asked the Hive Mind some questions, and thank you for taking the time to respond. Some of those things surprised me. I gotta admit, some of you all caught me off guard with some of those answers. So shout out you all. Um, that sounded sarcastic as hell. I'm so sorry. Um, Genuinely though, you all surprised me with some of those answers. Like apparently, two more people forget the free command, the free strat from Hive Tyrant on their turn than not. Vanguard Onslaught is more popular as a second pick than I figured. But things like that. So I say this that if you're trying some of these things, um, maybe some of the things that we've disregarded have more chances than we expect. Oh, and that was the other thing why I even went on that tangent is that more people forget to do Shadow in the Warp at good timings than I would imagine. And I've seen it like in tournaments too. It's like, did they go the whole game without Shadow in the Warp? Really, they saw no opportunity, and sometimes just blow that shit. I think often we hold on to it and look for the best time to do it, and like, of course, that's kind of what you should do. But we're not like orcs. It's not our go turn. It's a denial turn. So, I mean, it could be a go turn depending on how many neurolictors you have. But shit like that. So I think often, people might forget. It's like, oh wait, I didn't call Shadow. I'm in a really bad spot. There's like one Synapse unit left for me on the board, and it's my Hive Tyrant that's still behind, like right hovering around my home objective. So like, I just think that there's times where just blow it. Now, probably not turn one. I still think you probably shouldn't do it turn one in most cases. Uh but maybe don't wait till turn 5 when your opponent has sufficiently beat your ass, right? So just Shadow in the Warp. Think about it. Think about including Wing Tyranid Prime and a bunch of gargoyles for that reason, because unfortunately we can't attach Hormagaunts to anything, and Neurogaunts and the Neuro Tyrant is pretty slow. So, just here's the thing. Here's all the things. Consider the thing. Maybe do the thing. Hope your friend doesn't punch you in the face. So yeah, if you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.